Making hem top socks on the circular sock machine does not require a ribber, which makes the work easier to see than using a ribber, and sometimes it's helpful just to learn one thing at a time. This is a 2-video series in which we'll make socks like these, and don't worry, they do stay up. Also, they are safer for diabetics and anybody who has circulatory problems than socks with ribbing, because these cause much less restriction. Let's review the threading. The yarn comes up from the floor through one of the openings in the mast, then follows this path, and from there on down to the yarn carrier. For the tubular parts, we do not engage the heel spring. Start with a waste yarn tube already on the machine, and the weights hung on that waste yarn with the buckle or perhaps the cast-on bonnet or cast-on basket is still present. Getting the perfect fabric and sizing are both covered in other videos. Now let's change from the waste yarn, the pale yellow in this case, to the main yarn. I've knotted them and I'm bringing them on through, just by hand though. That's fully covered in another video too. Now we don't want the stitches to drop, so you'll need to secure the 2 tails at one time and begin knitting with the main yarn. You can see some flaws in my waste yarn knitting. Really doesn't matter as long as the main yarn gets on there and starts knitting without a fuss. Here's the start again with a different sock. I like a 20-row hem, which makes it about 1 inch tall. You may make it taller if you want, but only up to a point. If this happens to you, don't panic, just fix it. It's only in the waste yarn. We only need it to hold the true yarn stitches. So just keep on going as long as there's enough weight on the fabric. About that hem length, in my opinion, 40 rows is all that should ever really be used as a maximum. That's going to be roughly 2 inches of hem. After the main yarn has begun knitting smoothly, you can speed up and just knit your hem rows. Mine will be 20, as fast as the machine is comfortable with. When the rows are complete, we hang the hem, but first you must remove the weights. The buckle, though, can stay in place. Now we hang the hem, picking up the live stitches from the first round of main yarn, and that's done by reaching down and grabbing the very first main yarn row. It presents itself as little side-to-side bars of yarn, and hang them on the needles that are still in work directly above. I have an entire movie devoted specifically to this process because it can be a little challenging. It's nice if you can move your chair around so that you can look at what you're doing and don't have to twist your neck. And of course, it helps greatly to use a waste yarn that contrasts dramatically with the main yarn. The yarn carrier will eventually be in the way, and we will have to pull down the fabric and rotate it a little to complete the hem. Once it is hung, you'll see the waste yarn up near the top again, and we'll just leave it there for now and go on to knitting the leg rows. The first round warrants care and slow knitting because it's more difficult for the machine to knit off 2 sets of stitches than 1 set. After that, you can speed up, and I like 50 rows for the legs of ladies' socks and 60 for men, but that's open to your personal taste. That will render a sock top above the heel between 6 and 7 inches for ladies, 7 and 8 for men, depending on your precise row gauge. Part of the heel contributes to the whole length of the sock from the floor up. It'll add roughly 2 more inches. So if measuring from the floor, you'd get 8 to 9 inches for ladies and 9 to 10 inches for men. And that's it for the first half of the sock. In the next movie, part 2 of this, we will pick up with a different sock, and you can see the heel and the foot. Here's where we are right now.